At the opening round of the Dunlop series, the drivers pushed to the edge and beyond.
Who's that? On deep cold tyres. Just got sideways. And there's a touch. Left front's busted. She's done.
And while many faltered, experience shone through.
He's got Walsh up the inside. Gives him one of the way through. They're both off the road. This is awesome for Paul Dumbrell. Back in the Dunlop series, and he clinches the opening round for 2014.
Have the up-and-comers learnt from their mistakes? If not, on this tight and twisty old-school track, they may get taught a few more lessons.
Hi everyone and welcome to Winton Motor Raceway. It's round 2 today in the 2014 Dunlop Series for V8 Supercars. Now history says that the Queensland teams had no chance this weekend. 9 of the last 10 rounds have been won by teams that use this place as their home test track. How about this guy, Steve Owen? He's back this weekend. Late last-minute deal to get the 2-time series champion on the grid. This guy, car number 88, Paul Dumbrell from Eggleston Motorsport, won the first round on the streets of Adelaide. He leads the points coming into this weekend. He won here 12 years ago. Now, this weekend too, we're going to mix it up. Second race of the weekend will be the first time this year that we've run with the reverse top 10 grid format. They call this place the nation's action track. It's sure to deliver this weekend.
It will be interesting to see just who has the pace at Winton, because after predictions he would dominate the category, Paul Dumbrell was handed the round win on the streets of Adelaide after this incident.
I can't believe it, they both damaged their cars. They're done, they're done. And Paul Dumbrell, the veteran, will drive past the pair of them and take the race.
He now leads the championship, but in Adelaide it was Cameron Waters who took the pole award and Ash Walsh who had the race pace before the pair tripped over each other. Waters limped home in 22nd due to damage to his Falcon, while Walsh managed to salvage 6th and finish 3rd for the round.
We're all racing to win, so you got to expect those sorts of things. So yeah, from now on we just got to start finishing and getting the points. Not finishing race 2 really hurt us for points, so yeah, it kind of changes our objective a little bit now.
That he was a little bit vulnerable at that point, got a little bit flustered, made a mistake. Took the opportunity while it was there. It didn't end well for both of us, so it's one of those things where, you know, it's a circumstance of, you know, what happens at the time, but you know, I think if it happened again, obviously we probably both would do something a little bit different, but you know, it's still early in the championship, so I'm happy that I'm still 3rd in the points.
Taz Douglas was on the pace in Adelaide, claiming 2nd for the round. Although there were high expectations for success when he left the main series 2 years ago, good results have been few and far between.
The car was really good in Adelaide. I just don't think I gave it much justice. I think I was just driving a little bit safe to get a good bank of points there for the first round. But yeah, the last test day here, I really stepped it up in my driving, and you know, I'm really confident in the car, and we've got the car right in the window where we want it.
Drivers from the Brad Jones Racing stable appear poised for success on their home track of Winton. Andrew Jones was 4th after Adelaide, and although he was a regular on the podium last year, he knows it's time to up the ante and come home with a race or round win.
It doesn't sit well with me, that's for sure. You know, we're in the game, in the sport of trying to win. That's what we want to do. And as much as it's nice to get up and spray some champagne, you know, the bottom step of the podium is, you know, it's not the most fun place to be. Yeah, it's better than a 4th or a 5th, but we want to, you know, make a couple of more steps towards the top of the podium. We're definitely working our way at it, but it's a long process.
His teammate Chris Pither was 5th in Adelaide and believes the new format of longer races suits him well.
Compared to last year, the races were a lot shorter, obviously, and this year you can be a bit more patient, and I think we probably had the speed last year to go a bit better than what we did, but there was obviously a lot of carnage last year too. This year people can be more patient and bide their time, pick their opportunities smarter, I guess, and yeah, in that respect, I enjoy the longer races, and it's more in line with what main series do, so I think it's great.
There is also an emerging pack of young drivers steadily building confidence and pace. Andre Heimgartner and Gary Jacobson are well inside the top 10, and although Cameron Waters was banged up in Adelaide, putting him 8th in the championship, he's more than proven his pace and will be hungry to make amends. Also making a return to racing this weekend is the ever-pacey Steve Owen. He missed Adelaide, but whenever he grids up, he's rarely out of podium contention.
Time to check out the Armour All Pole Position Award, and just like we saw from 2013, Steve Owen misses round 1 of the championship, comes over for round 2, and bang, takes pole position. His one-lap speed is still very strong. Takes the money thanks to Armour All, and an all Ford Performance Racing Endurance front row, as he'll be starting alongside Cam Waters. Another strong performance from the teenager. We're all set here at Winton Motor Raceway, the Dunlop Series, ready to go for round number 2 of their championship, and the first race is coming up after this.
Welcome back. More V8 Supercars on the track. This time it's the Dunlop Series. So round 2, race 1. Our Armour All pole sitter is Steve Owen, who starts alongside Cameron Waters on the front row of the grid. Your commentators for this one, Greg Murphy and Aaron Noonan.
Matty, looking forward to this. Steve Owen back in the championship this weekend. Didn't do the first round on the streets of Adelaide. Murph, standout qualifying. Morgan Haber, P3 for Matthew White's team. Paul Dumbrell, the series leader, starts from position 7. Shane Price back in V8s this weekend. Great to see him back driving for the THR team from Adelaide in one of the old Jack Daniels Commodores. Tim Macro, the Formula 3 champ, makes his series debut. Big field of cars, 30 will line up for this. First race of 2 for the weekend. Armour All pole position to Steve Owen, driving the car that he drove last year for Matty White's team, the ex-Mark Winterbottom car. Cam Waters alongside. He drives for Ford Performance Racing. Remember, he was very fast on the streets of Adelaide. Row 2, Andrew Jones alongside Morgan Haber, then Ant Pedersen from New Zealand. Ash Walsh, runner-up in the series last year. Paul Dumbrell starts from 7th. Remember, he's driving for Eggleston Motorsport this year, so 25 laps. There's time for these guys to sort themselves out. How will the rubber go? They'll have watched the V8 Supercar race. Let's see what they do in this one. Away we go. Cam Waters, the NZ Ford, has made a ripping start. Dumbrell is slow away as they fire to turn 1.
He did balk there. He just jumped ever so slightly, Cam Waters, then put the foot on the brake. Not quite sure. We'll have to see if we get another shot of that at the start as they stream through. Look at that. Walsh, what a start. He comes from 6 to take 2nd spot into turn 3. The rest of them streaming through. Bit of a bottleneck further back through the field. As you said, Aaron, this track after the V8 Supercar race is in very, very different condition to what these guys saw early this morning in qualifying.
And they had a really weird practice day where that sealant that was coming up, these guys probably copped the worst of it. We went down there yesterday. We could have brought bucket loads of it back. They brought half the racetrack back with them. So they were down essentially a session on their setup time and knowing what was going on. It was like driving in the wet.
Yeah, the track has gone through some big transformations over the last few days. The sun is shining now. The supercars have been out and worn a little bit of a groove back into this Winton circuit.
The guy with the grooves up at the moment is Cam Waters, clearing away in the NZ Ford for Ford Performance Racing, the Formula 4 champ. There he is. The margin back to Ash Walsh is quite handy. Of course, this is FPR. It's an FPR car, but it is run by FPR as well. They're back in the series this year after a year away. Remember, they ran Chaz Mostert in 2012, but that's the order. Ash Walsh next, then Andrew Jones, then Steve Owen, Morgan Haber, Dumbrell, Paul Morris has moved up, then Chris Pither, Owen down the inside. That's for 3rd.
So Steve Owen, maybe, I don't know, maybe a few races away from getting one of these cars off the line, but that probably wasn't one of his finest starts. Probably hasn't done a lot of miles up until this point, but here we go, a lot of wheel spin by Steve Owen. Oh, Pedersen, very, very slow to get away, and that's cost him dearly. He's lost a lot of spots, back to 13th as it stands.
Waters did have a little move, but
I think he was stopped and he wasn't over the line, so he should be okay with that start.
Chaz Mostert watching on. Paul Morris will be his co-driver for the Enduro Cup, and the dude is behind the wheel of the Sargent Security Ford. Aaron Tebb off the road at Penrite Corner, and there's a grass verge that will let him get back on at least.
Yeah,
it's a long
fortunate
way.
Not to get in the fence there, run through the gravel trap. We saw some action in the supercar race there as well earlier. Ash Walsh, though, he is back on Cam Waters' tail. And these two have got a little bit of a score to settle. Not that it's, you know, a real bad thing, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but they obviously had that coming together at Adelaide, and both of them came off second best.
And it cost Ash Walsh 25 series points when they were fighting for the lead. They had contact on the streets of Adelaide. Morgan Haber here, he's driving for the Matthew White team. He's teammates with Steve Owen, and he's put in his best performance so far. This was Aaron Tebb running off.
Oh, yeah, he just ran through way too quickly. The gravel trap did do its job, stopped him from getting in the fence.
Just added about 0.2 of a kilometre to the 3 kilometre Winton circuit. Looking back in the order here, that's Josh Keane in the number 3 car. He's renumbered. Here's Marcus Dukanovic, 50th round start for him this weekend. Just the 3rd man to do it in the Dunlop Series. He's trying to pass Frederick Lestrup, who is the Swede. So we've got Robert Dahlgren in the main championship in the Volvo. And now we've got a Swede in Dunlop Series as well.
The Swedes are coming, mate.
Yep.
The Volvos are here. The Swedes are coming. They got the message. And he has moved, you know, he's having a much better run there than what he had at Adelaide as well. But Dukanovic touching up the back of the Commodore of Lestrup. First time here for the Swede as well around the Winton Raceway.
And that's one of the ex-Gary Rogers Fujitsu Commodores, Michael Caruso's car from a couple of years ago. Dukanovic in a former FPR car. Brett Stewart from Western Australia just in behind. Cam Orders, fastest to the 2nd sector this time around. Ash Walsh in 2nd. That's the Infant Friend car. Now, that's from Queensland. He's from Ipswich, so Queensland Raceway is very much his home test track. The history here is bad if you're from Queensland, because no Queensland team has ever won a round of the Dunlop Series here. The Victorian teams and the Albury Brad Jones Racing Squad, they've held sway.
Cam Waters just a couple of tenths faster than Ash Walsh, who will be looking to close down the NZ Falcon. And we've got a bit of a battle on our hands coming.
Cam Waters leads the way. 25 laps. There's a long way to go. The NZ Ford has the lead at the moment. Ash Walsh is chasing. More from Winton in just a moment. This is race 1 of the Dunlop Series.
So these guys are going to have to earn their stripes this afternoon. And the pressure's going to be on as Pedersen. He puts a move on Douglas. A good passing spot. It's not over yet, and he's moved Douglas off the road. And you can't do that. That's going to be an interesting one to see if that gets looked at.
That was, in fact, Gary Jacobson. Yeah, that's Ann Pedersen just behind.
Sorry, it's correct. It was Jacobson.
Gary Jacobson shoved it down the inside, got past, and then there was a rub on the exit.
Yeah, it was a good move. He did a really good job of getting down the inside, nice and clean, but then he just used too much road on the exit, and we know we're not supposed to do that. So he's driven Taz Douglas right off the road when he's still at an overlap, and you have to give racing room. So that'll get looked at, I have no doubt.
The number 7, Jack Daniels car. Morris down the inside on Haber for position 6, and the door's open.
And Pither.
Oh.
This is what happens through that section. Really, really difficult if you're in a bit of a gaggle of cars there. Haber's on the inside now, though, for turn 1. He should be able to hold this and retain that spot, albeit one less than what he was last lap round, as Paul Morris managed to pull a move into 11, obviously, get down the inside and carry it through.
And Heimgartner's in there. He's the 3rd car from Matthew White's team. This is the Dalewood Championship winner from last year, now in Finance Easy colours. He's got Gary Jacobson just behind him, Taz Douglas next in the queue. This spread from 4th to 12th or 13th, this is where the action's at. This is where something's going to happen, but Jones is hanging on, but he's 12 seconds behind Steve Owen. He's 18.5 off the lead of the race. Such is the difference in pace between the top 3 and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, that is phenomenal, being that we're only a handful, 13 laps into this race to be that far ahead, but Jones is running around over a second a lap slower than those 3 guys ahead of him. And maybe Paul Morris has decided, you know what, I'm not going to sit here any longer. If no one else is going to do it, I'll be your man. There he is, the Sergeant Security Falcon, on board with Chaz Mostert for the Enduros.
In a Ford. That's a bit different for the dude. He'll be behind the wheel of car 6, the Pepsi Max crew car at Sandown, Bathurst and the Gold Coast. This time by 14 laps down, 11 to go in race 1 of 2 for the weekend in round 2 of the Dunlop Series, and Cam Waters still leads the way. 4.5 seconds is the margin.
The Dumbrell car surprised me. I really expected that to probably move forward a little bit more than what it has. The difference in the speed from 4 back compared to the guys at the front has been substantial. Morris still looking a little bit better. Dumbrell's gone wide again. Morris gets down the inside at 10, but he is on the outside now for 11, but he isn't because, oh, they touch. Dumbrell's trying to move him over. He maintains it. We'll get the crossover. Will he get the cross? Not quite. Morris looked for the crossover there. Haber's looking on all of this going, am I going to benefit from these two touching up? We'll see what happens in the next couple of laps. Will Morris mount another challenge on Dumbrell?
Yes.
They had a little touch down into turn 11.
I reckon you can...
He's really struggling.
Yeah, he's starting to really struggle with this 888 Commodore. This is the car Casey Stoner drove in the Dunlop Series last year. Morgan Haber's hanging with them in position 7. His teammate Andre Heimgartner's next. Jacobson, Douglas, the top 10. Remember that Chris Pither dropped out. He ran off the road a little bit earlier on, but Andrew Jones, after putting up with all the pressure, has got a bit of time to breathe. He's got a bit of room in front and behind.
He's done a really good job to hold off the charge of these guys, and now he's giving himself a little bit of breathing space. This battle's not done at all for 5th. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of touching going on. Look at Dumbrell, how wide he is coming off. Turn 9. This is the corner. He ran very wide on the last lap, which gave Morris the opportunity to get a run. Paul's driving very smooth, actually. I'm very impressed. Under brakes into 11. Hasn't managed to find another advantage as Waters, off the road.
Frederick Lestrup, the Swede, Pacific Hoists Commodore from the R-Sport Race Engineering team. He will rejoin.
Down at turn 7.
Got to send out a search party to find this guy because he's that far in front, 8 seconds in front of Ash Walsh. Now, let's just get this into perspective. The Dunlop Series, if you haven't seen much of it, it's the proving ground for the V8 Supercar stars of the future. Cam Waters is a young guy that's ticked the boxes in all the junior categories. This is a change of position. Steve Owen through to second. Ash Walsh, he did a 29.3 that time around.
Yeah, so he's been off the road.
He's been off the road or he's got a drama.
He's been off the road probably maybe down at 11 potentially, but this has only just happened. We haven't seen it at this stage, but Steve Owen, who was reasonably close to Walsh, has managed to get ahead as Waters' lead goes out to 10.6 seconds. The kid is showing and teaching all these guys a lesson today.
And that's the point I was going to make. This series is all about proving yourself on the stage in front of the V8 teams. Get an endurance drive, get in the door.
If you get an opportunity, you've got to make the most of it. He is in a very good car, right? No question about that, but these guys are in good cars too.
He's driving an FPR car. Steve Owen here has won plenty of rounds of this series. He's a 2-time champion in this series. He's driving for Matthew White's team.
Here we go.
That'll
Owen.
be White.
Well, there was a big hit there in the door with those two.
Interesting. So this is great news for Cam Waters. He's got one to go after this one. He's on target for his very first race win in the Dunlop Series. He's been in it for a little while. This would be the breakthrough that he needs.
Yeah, well, this is definitely the best chance he's had, and he is making the absolute most of it. No question, this is the best car he's been in the Dunlop Series. But you've still got to drive it. You've still got to be consistent. You've still got to impress, and there's no question that this drive has been super impressive. Right from the start, he got the jump on Steve Owen, but Owen's had nothing for him anyway.
No, the margin is 9.7 seconds, so Cam can control this one. He's from Mildura originally. He's moved to Melbourne to be obviously nearer to FPR. He drove for the Minder team last year in an old Gary Rogers Commodore and had some good rounds. He was part of the Kelly team before that with the short-lived Dreamtime operation in the Dunlop Series, but he's in the right gear now, and that's just, you know it better than anyone, that's half the battle.
Well, it's a huge part of the battle.
Probably 3/4 of the battle,
Absolutely
really.
a huge part of the battle. And we've seen so many times very good drivers in cars that aren't quite right, and they struggle. But he is making the most of it. He is on board with the FPR team for this year in the Enduros. And this is only going to make everybody very happy in that team to see that they've got this young guy on the books and doing the job.
The last guy they had is in the main game now. Chaz Mostert, of course, was FPR's star of the Dunlop Series a couple of years ago. They've got another one on their hands. The NZ Ford is at the final turn. Race 1 of the weekend in round 2 of the Dunlop Series. It's a breakthrough for the first time. Cam Waters wins in the Dunlop Series. Well done and he's mashed them. He's miles in front of the two-time champ, Steve Owen, and he and Ash Walsh will run home for second and third, but Cam Waters, ooh, confidence build, that's nice. Well done, Cam Waters. He'll be back tomorrow to start from pole for race 2. Dumbrell, Morris, Morgan Haber, PB. Great job in 7th from Gary Jacobson. Andre Heimgartner in 9th, and Taz Douglas rounds out the 10. It's a reverse top 10 tomorrow. That will be tasty when the Dunlop Series returns at Winton tomorrow at the Winton 400.
Cam, what a blistering start. You just got right away from him.
Yeah, it was all about the start in that race. It's so hard to pass here, so I got a really good start, made a bit of a gap and just managed that. It's a really easy race.
Yeah, you had it all to yourself in the end.
Yeah, it's the way I like it. It's a lot easier for me like that. I could just manage the tyres and just manage the gap behind me. It was really good.
The action's just heating up, so make sure you stick around.